Hello and welcome. My name is Kaylee and this is Bloom Sewing Studio. Today we have a very exciting video because I'm going to take you along with me to prepare for my sewing camp. So I was inspired by Pink Cut Sew Studio to start making money with my sewing. And the way that I chose to do that was to teach in-person sewing lessons. And so she had different ideas of what you could do. And I first started out having lessons like every other week. Like I was trying to make it work with my schedule. And so we started having lessons for about 4 months, and it would be every other week. So 2 times a month for 4 months. And I really did like that. But the only thing was, especially with my family, for whatever reason, I feel like we get sick a lot. And sometimes it'll just like hit us hard and we'll get sick like every other week. And so when I had that, I was always either having to reschedule because my family was sick, or reschedule or do makeup classes because other people were sick or couldn't make it. And so it was more of a commitment than I wanted to put in. I mean, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have a lot on my plate, and having to work around other things outside of my already set schedule was quite difficult. So recently, as in last month, I tried my hand for the first time at doing a sewing camp, which is what was recommended by Nikki at Pink Cut Sew Studio. I love Nikki. She's great, and she's got really great videos, super fun patterns, and I use some of them in my sewing camps. So anyway, shout out to her. I don't even know her personally, but I really adore her and her work. Anyway, so last month I did a sleepover themed sewing camp. So we met on Friday and we met for 2 hours in which we would cut out our patterns. And and then on Saturday we met from 9 to 2. In my experience from that first sewing camp, we didn't have enough time to finish our project. So this weekend we're meeting tonight from 6 to 8 p.m. And then tomorrow we're going to meet from no, actually it was 10 to 2. So this weekend we're actually meeting from 9:30 to 2:30 to give ourselves that extra hour to hopefully finish our project on time. So let's talk about what we're going to be making and how I'm going to prep for that. So here I've got a little sleep mask. This is the pattern from Tilly and the Buttons. And I really like this pattern. It's really simple. It's really cute. Students, since they're just young children, we'll probably just make it out of cotton. So I'm going to be doing preparations for this, which will be cutting out the inner piece for my students in the batting, because a few less steps will make it go a little bit faster. And then secondly, we're going to be making a drawstring backpack. And what I really like about this backpack that's different from others is that it's got a little tab, it's lined, and it has an inner pocket. And because of those three features, I really like this bag a lot. So let's get into how I'm going to prepare for my sewing camp tonight, and I'll take you along with me as I am preparing. Okay, so this is my little sewing studio space. I've got room for 2 students over here and 2 more students over here. I need to set up the chairs on this side. And then, like I said, I need to cut out the inner part for the eye mask over here. I also need to get the pattern pieces out and put them at each spot at the table so that everyone has their own pattern pieces and they don't have to share. Then I'll make sure I've got pins out and scissors so that they can have the things that they need in order to cut out their patterns tonight. Over here, we've got fabric that they can choose from, as well as over here. The lighting isn't that great in my sewing room, so I actually have this giant light over here, which I wish I had something different, but there's literally like lamps all over my sewing room, you'll see, and it's really to help with the terrible lighting that we've got going on. So I'm going to set things up, and you can come with me as I set up my sewing room. Okay, so we've got the pins and the scissors out, as well as the chairs, and I'm going to grab the pattern and set it at each table. Okay, so for those patterns, I just make sure that I have all the instructions on the pattern piece of what they're going to need. I will go over it with them in person as well, but just like when we cut out things with a pattern, we want to know, where the grain line is, how many we need to cut, just instructions like that. So I made sure to put those on all the copies of the pattern piece, hopefully. And then I also have with me, because sometimes I get flustered when I have students in here asking me a bunch of questions. So I have the instructions that I wrote out for the sleep mask and for the drawstring bag, and I just make sure I keep those out and follow it as we go so that everyone is on the same page and I'm not getting all flustered and lost. So I also have elastic for the eye mask, which I will cut later on when I can measure their head. I also need to cut my paracord, but because I don't know who's going to choose what colors, I'm going to wait on that as well. And lastly, I will just take you along with me to cut out the batting for the sleep mask. So I went ahead and I cut out of one of these bigger pieces because in the instructions it wants you to make it 5/8 of an inch smaller. So instead of trying to have my students do that, I just cut out a template and I'm going to cut those out for them before class so that they don't have to worry about that. And like I said last time I did this, we didn't have enough time to finish. So I'm really hoping that we will this time, and it's especially helpful when I'm able to do some of the things that take a little bit more time. Because all my students are quite young, I don't let them use the rotary cutter. I just let them stick with the fabric shears, which in my opinion makes cutting out take much longer, but I think that it's a little bit safer. That's all the preparations that I'm going to do right now. I've cut out the batting and I'm just going to put it at each one of the tables and we should be ready to go. I'm really looking forward to tonight. I know all these students already. They've been to some of my past classes, so I think they're excited to sew something new and different this time. Anyway, if you stick around, I'm going to have probably a part 2. I don't know if I'll keep it in this video of preparing for my animal ragdoll class, which here's a little sample of one of the ragdolls. This is a brown cow. My daughter added a little scarf, but I made her a little shirt with some bloomers, and in part 2 of preparing for my sewing camp, I will go over how I prepare for teaching the animal ragdoll class. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And I'll see you next time.